My bold predictions for the MLB Winter Meetings that the Washington Nationals will not just sign one veteran, but they will sign two veterans.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can find me over on Twitter at Ryan Clary11. But we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. And later on in today's program, obviously, we have the MLB Winter Meetings starting this week, and it starts on Monday, but everybody gets there over the weekend. So it really starts this weekend, and you'll start to see a lot of rumors fly around. But the Nationals, the two biggest stories in town are CJ Abrams and the trade rumors, but really more importantly, it's MacKenzie Gore, as yet another insider has given their odds on when MacKenzie Gore will be traded. So I've got that discussion for you, and also in CJ Abrams later on in the program today. But we start off discussing my two bold predictions for the Washington Nationals. I think that they sign a veteran bat, and I also think they sign a veteran arm. I've got the terms of the agreements that I think will happen. I'll tell you about the veteran bat. But today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. And download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. I think the first thing that the Nationals do in the MLB Winter Meetings is not trade anybody. I think that it will be signing a big bat. And I think that big bat right now is former Orioles slugger Ryan O'Hearn. He was traded to the Padres this past trade deadline for a pretty solid return for the Orioles, I might just add there. But I think that Ryan O'Hearn makes a lot of sense for the Washington Nationals. And there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about it, because I think that there is some real issues here regarding whether or not the Nationals will spend the money to get a Ryan O'Hearn type. But coming off a season of which he had 544 plate appearances. He was healthy for the full season, appeared in 144 games, hit 17 home runs. That's back-to-back years with 15-plus home runs from the left side of the plate. And this year, I think he actually really took a step up, especially going up against left-handed pitchers, rather. So I think that Ryan O'Hearn makes a lot of sense for the Nationals. I think that they should be making a strong push to get the breakout left-handed hitter over these past seasons. Ryan O'Hearn would be a really good deal for this team, because I think it solves a lot of our issues. We've talked about getting power bats in the building, and Ryan O'Hearn is not going to hit 40 home runs. He's not going to solve a lot of your issues here, but I do think he will be a big help in that department. I think going into last year's Winter Meetings, the big talking point was that the Nationals needed first base help. You still need that same help. Nathaniel Lowe was not the answer. You made that trade, and it was a good shot at it, but it never worked out. I think that this is a real move that could work out. Now, you're going to have to spend some money. This is going to be a guy who I don't think will get a one-year deal. If he does get a one-year deal, we're probably talking about $17 million a year. And the reason why I say that is because I do think that someone like O'Hearn will be getting a multi-year deal. It's not going to be some lucrative contract. I think that the Nationals could probably ink a deal for a 2-year, $30 million deal, maybe with a player option after the first season. And I think that's something that could get done for the Nationals. This would help you out a ton. He's not going to be some Gold Glove first baseman. He'll be fine over at first base defensively. But also, he's going to be utilized as a DH. He could also be in the outfield, of which he was with the Orioles. But I think that the Nationals could and should sign Ryan O'Hearn to be your primary first baseman. You need offensive production from that position. You have not had a consistent first baseman since Ryan Zimmerman retired. You had that nice little stint with Joey Meneses for a couple of months back in 2022 or whenever it was. But other than that, you have not had any production offensively or even really defensively, I guess, outside of Dominic Smith. You need to solve this position once and for all. You have a really bad, just quite frankly, bad infield defense. Ryan O'Hearn is not really going to help you step up in that department, but he will kind of anchor that first base position. And I do think having someone who is just fine over at first base will help guys like Abrams and Garcia, who tend to make a lot of throwing errors. And I think having someone stabilize that defensive position would obviously help you out a lot. And then you also have Brady House, who's in the corner, the hot corner in the infield over at third base. I think he's a stud defender. I don't really think he needs too much help over there. But with where the Nationals are today, going out and getting a first baseman that answers a lot of your questions offensively, answers your questions with veteran leadership, I think that plays a big role in this conversation because the Nationals need leadership. You have a lot of different guys who obviously help you. And I think James Wood is a great player to have in the clubhouse. I think CJ Abrams is a great player to have in the clubhouse. I think Dylan Cruz is obviously the team leader, and I think he will really take a step up in that leadership role. But also, you need that veteran guy. Ryan O'Hearn has had not an easy career by any means. He has been cut. He has been signed by teams. He has been sent down to the minors, and he has also been an all-star player most as of recently. That would be a great signing if you're Paul Taboni. If you can get someone like Ryan O'Hearn here, coming off an all-star season of which he had an OPS north of 800, that would be a big move for this team. And I think that this would help out not only just the leadership, but also the offense. This is a team that needs help on power. They need help on getting on base. They need help in all departments, offensively speaking. I think O'Hearn, number one, makes sense money. Two, makes sense for where you are now. If you do go out and let's Another guy that I think the Nationals should and will go after is Dustin May. Dustin May, the former right-handed stud for the Los Angeles Dodgers, he's coming off a pretty down year with the Red Sox and with the Dodgers. He was traded to the Red Sox at this year's trade deadline, and he had a rough go of it. I mean, there is no hiding about that at this point. But I do think that someone like Dustin May would make a ton of sense for where the Nationals are. This is someone who is 28 years old, who will be 29 years old coming up this September, and coming off a down year. He's not going to cost that much. And yes, he has a long injury history here, and he's not the same pitcher of what he was back in, let's say, 2021 and 2020 and in 2019 when he first came up. He looked like he was going to be a star for the Dodgers. Throwing a sweeper a majority of the time, he's an interesting profile. And I think with where the Nationals are going, like Taboni and Simon Matthews, they have this analytical background. With that analytical background, you're going to be looking at stuff and different advantages. And Dustin May used to be able to blow people by with like 99 to 100 mile per hour fastballs. That's not his game anymore. He sits in like the mid, does touch the upper 90s, like 96, 97, 98 miles per hour every now and then, but really is sitting 95, 96 on most every 5 days. But if you want to take a gamble on someone who could be a very big piece to this team, I think Dustin May would make a lot of sense. I think having someone who comes from an organization of success with the Dodgers obviously makes sense. And again, just kind of reading the tea leaves, Paul Duboni, Devin Pearson, coming from the Red Sox into the Nationals organization, they traded for Day. Dustin May is someone who has great stuff. He has had a lot of success in Major League Baseball. Yes, he did not pitch at all in 2024. He only made 9 appearances in 2023 coming off injuries, but still, this is a bounce back candidate. And I think that the Nationals will sign someone of this caliber to see maybe if they do bounce back. Maybe Dustin May becomes his full self, and if he stays healthy, this is someone who could help you down the road. I think Dustin May would be a very savvy move for this Nationals team. And I think going into this, Dustin May probably might be one of my I'm probably most excited about him. That's kind of what I want to say here. I really like Dustin May. I've always loved Dustin May. And I think that Dustin May would make a lot of sense for the Nationals at this point. I'm going to think that, let's say that you do trade MacKenzie Gore, you're going to be missing someone in your rotation. And just off the top of the dome here, Josiah Gray coming back from Tommy John, DJ Hurst coming back from Tommy John, Cade Cavalli has had some injury history. So maybe with these injuries and people coming off Tommy John surgeries, maybe that kind of makes you want to stay away from someone who also has a long injury history as well with Dustin May. But I think that this would be a very smart gamble. And even then, if you don't want to have him as a starting pitcher, I'm going to think that May is going to think of himself as a starting pitcher. And I think the Nationals will also think that of him. But if he does not, you could use this guy as a bullpen guy. He is someone who could be your setup man down the road. He's a long-term reliever. He has done both these things. He's come out of the postseason in the bullpen and pitched very well for the Dodgers. He has started games in the regular season and the postseason, and he has been great in those situations. I think Dustin May would be a great move for the Nationals, and he would be someone that I think, taking in that bargain category, he would be a smart move for the Nationals to make. Right now, he's healthy. He says he'll be full go. I truly do believe in that. You're going to have him healthy for spring training. He's coming off a down year with the Red Sox and the Dodgers, but I think that he comes at a cheap price, but I also think the upside is absolutely worth a gamble. So I think the Nationals will go after Ryan O'Hearn. The price tag may be a little too expensive for him if a couple of other teams are in on him, but a guy that I think that they should absolutely go for is Dustin May. Those are my 2 predictions. I think that the Nationals will end up signing somebody, and I think they will sign multiple people, obviously, but I would look at Dustin May, number 1, and number 2, I would look at Ryan O'Hearn, the DH and first baseman, formerly with the Orioles. So those are my bold predictions. What are yours? Let me know. You can tweet at me at Ryan Clary 11. But next, I want to get into MacKenzie Gore and CJ Abrams, because this weekend, that's going to be the 2 biggest storylines that you will have to watch for. So I'm going to call my shot. Will they be traded this weekend, or will it be next week, or when will it be? We'll have all the trade rumors after this. And let me tell you about our friends at Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. And with Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets with moment they hit the app. And it puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. And you can just pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. There's no confusion. There's no hunting for fine print. And prices include fees up front, which I personally love, and no last second surprises at checkout. There's also alerts for teams and matches. Make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Do it with our friends at Game Time. And we are back here on Locked On Nationals as I am going to be getting into MacKenzie Gore. One of my predictions is that MacKenzie Gore will be traded, and I think that this is something that will happen in the next week or two. I think following the headlines right now, and I do want to say this about Jon Heyman, obviously one of the biggest national MLB beat reporters. He said that there is a greater than 50% chance that he will be dealt this offseason. And I think that what the winter meetings will be is there's going to be a lot of groundwork that will be dealt here. And I think that Paul Taboni is going to be talking with a lot of GMs that include teams like maybe the Blue Jays. I know they just signed a starting pitcher, but I think they're going to be very aggressive in this market. I think maybe the Tigers will potentially talk about a Gore trade. And I think other teams out there like the Cubs, the Mariners, we talked about the Yankees who could be in on him. I mean, I think there are a lot of endless possibilities when it comes to a Gore trade, but Nationals fans, buckle up. You're going to be hearing a lot about Gore these next few days. If you're tuned into MLB Network, that is going to be a big discussion. My prediction is that I think that you will see some big Jeff Passan report of trade speculation ramping up and teams calling Taboni, and you'll see a lot of different packages thrown out there. But I think a prediction that a lot of Nationals fans should probably get ready for is you are going to hear that the Nationals will not be giving up MacKenzie Gore for just anything. They have got a high price tag on this guy. And I do want to pose this question. If the Nationals, let's say, don't get the package that they think that they could get, should they try to hold on to him? My answer might be a little trickier, but I'm going to say no. They should not be holding on to him. And I think that with, like, the cat's out the bag, man. Like, it just is at this point. Everybody knows that MacKenzie Gore will be traded at this point. And unfortunately, that kind of takes away the leverage. And I think going back to when you dealt Soto, like that was such a big deal in baseball because no one really expected the Nationals to do that. And then when it came out that they were shopping him, they were taking calls on him, obviously teams were like, well, we got to get Juan Soto. This is a future Hall of Famer. We want to be the first team that could sign him in 2.5 years. And so that kind of drove up the price tag. I think this is probably the worst case scenario for the Nationals because everybody knows that you're going to deal him. And again, when MacKenzie Gore comes back in spring training, he's a professional. I don't really think it'll go like this, but it does make for a little bit of an awkward homecoming if he is here. And because listen, MacKenzie Gore is just not on social media. Like, he understands the rumors. He's talking to his agent, Scott Boras. He knows what's going on. He knows his value within the team. And it is a business. He's a professional. He probably understands how this thing goes. But it does make it a little bit awkward. So I feel as if the Nationals do not have that much leverage at this point. Like, while there might be a bidding war that could drive up the price tag for Gore, and I do think the Sonny Gray deal provides a really good outline of what the Nationals should be looking to get. I think you'll get a lot more than what the Cardinals got in return for Sonny Gray. And I think the Nationals should be in that boat, by the way. But I think most importantly for the Nationals, you should just be trying to get the best package possible. And I think when it's all said and done, by sometime over the next few weeks, you should take just the best package possible for Gore. It's not going to get any higher. If you think maybe later on in the offseason it could, okay, let's talk about it. But I kind of want to have this process over with. And I think if I'm MacKenzie Gore as well, he's probably in that same boat as well. He probably talks to Paul Taboni and is like, listen, man, if you're going to deal me, just deal me. Like, just get this thing over with. I don't want to be in limbo. I don't want to have an apartment in DC and have to move out everything or whatever it could be. it's a tricky situation. And I think that the Nationals are probably going to be looking for a resolution, hopefully sometime soon. And so at this point, I do think Gore gets moved over the next week or two. But of course, next, let's get into CJ Abrams, though. I think CJ Abrams is a very interesting character to watch over these next couple of days here. And I think that the CJ Abrams rumor mill might be hitting a pause button. So I'll tell you after this. NFL Sundays move fast in one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, and every highlight moment. And live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live spreads and money lines and adjust instantly. This weekend with the Vikings and the Commanders, I'm going with the Vikings on the money line, but I have got a Bill anytime touchdown. That's right. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt ends this streak of not getting in the end zone. I think he gets back in the end zone against JJ McCarthy and this Vikings defense. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. We're back here on Locked On Nationals as we tackle CJ Abrams trade rumors. And my prediction for CJ Abrams is that he will not be traded over the next week. I think that you will see rumors regarding it, and I do think there will be some smoke regarding CJ Abrams. But ultimately, I do think the Nationals will stick and hold with CJ Abrams at this point, and that's what they should be doing. I think having an everyday player with the talent that Abrams has, that is something that you just simply cannot find. You cannot find someone who has 20 plus home run power that can also steal 30 to 40 to 50 bases in a single season. And I think that Abrams defensively, while there are certainly some woes there, he might be able to get better if you move him over to second base. Or again, if you really get in on this player development stuff, maybe the Nationals can tap into that with Abrams this year. And I think that's going to be a big case study for them moving forward. So at this point, I'm not even entertaining a CJ Abrams trade, although I will think it will be a big talking point these next few days. Teams are going to be in on him. I mean, we've talked about it, like the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're being ultra aggressive right now. They just traded for the password from the Boston Red Sox. They gave up one of their top guys and a relatively solid package in return for him. And I think that that is going to be a team that could be in play because they have got a loaded farm system. And if you are the Pittsburgh Pirates right now, you really want to win now, especially with guys like Paul Skeens in your roster. You've got a good rotation, and O'Neal Cruz is one of the more talented players in the game. If you do have to try to get someone like a CJ Abrams, they will try to get that. And I think that makes a lot of sense for them trying to be in on that middle infield market, and maybe you move him out to center field, or who knows what you do with him. But the Nationals are not going to trade him. That is my prediction. I think that they could entertain it. They might be able to get a package that could intrigue them. But if I am them right now, you should not be in that pool. You can entertain it. And if a price tag is so high for someone and they try to give up one of their top guys that you covet, then okay, I guess we can talk. And if there are some issues maybe in the clubhouse, I don't think that at this point, but if there are, then yeah, I guess you do move off him. And if you think that could help your culture, then I guess so. And same goes for MacKenzie Gore, but I don't think that's an issue for either of those guys. They seem great, and there's really no reason to believe that at this point. But the Nationals, this is going to be an interesting one. The MLB Winter Meetings start this weekend, and the Nationals are going to be players in this. And it's going to be the first time in a long time that the Nationals will be some serious contenders during this winter meetings. And you're going to hear a lot of rumors around the Nationals and the trades that they could be making, some free agent splashes they could be looking to make. So stay tuned right here to Locked On Nationals. I'll have you covered all weekend long. So I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy the weekend. Go Nats.